Greetings, Dr. Mark Winson here, and I'd like to spend a few minutes today talking about the Penn State child sexual abuse scandal. Of course, at this point in time, there has been a grand jury report that anyone can review online, but what I'd like to focus on will be the corporate or the university response, as well as the adults who allegedly witnessed child sexual abuse occurring or who had knowledge about child sexual abuse, and their failure to report, prevent, or stop the abuse from occurring. And I will rely for much of my discussion on Bandura, Caprara, and Zolny's article, Corporate Transgressions Through Moral Disengagement, found in the Journal of Human Values, Volume 6, Issue 1, published in 2000. First, I would point out that when a situation occurs that is bound to bring concern, dismay, disgust to the community, and a particular corporate body or corporation or organization is involved, there is often a quick rush to try to do damage control, to try to repair potential damage to the reputation of an institution or organization. Many say that this is very similar to what occurred with the Catholic Church priest child sexual abuse scandals. And I would agree that there are some similarities, and I believe that we'll find that there are also some differences. Now, given that we have not had a trial and we haven't seen a guilty or not guilty outcome here, I'm not going to get into any of the potential criminal charges, and I'm going to focus more on, again, the organizational aspects. And one of the features here that seems to have occurred is a situation of displacement of responsibility and also diffusion of responsibility. In other words, what we had in this situation, it appears, based on what I've read in the press, is that that adults had knowledge of the sexual abuse allegations, and they either failed to report to the proper authorities, or they reported to a supervisor and then believed that they had done their duty and they had completed their task, even when supervisors and those above them failed to report or to take appropriate action. So some may believe that they have only a small responsibility, and once they report their observations, the allegations of abuse, or if they witnessed abuse to a particular authority or supervisor, then they are free of any more responsibility. This is actually false, that they still have responsibility to make sure that the allegations are brought to the attention of the proper authorities who would actually conduct a thorough investigation. That appears not to have been done in this particular case. And that responsibility can move up from the hierarchy, from someone at a lower level to mid-level to upper level. And I think we've seen that based on the outcome of multiple individuals being fired or forced to resign from their positions. So this whole idea of responsibility. Others may argue that a perpetrator is responsible for his or her behavior, and those that observe should report it, but they're not responsible. Well, they're not responsible for the behavior, but they're responsible for reporting the behavior and also following through to make sure that this has come to the attention of the proper authorities who would be able to investigate. There may be a blame game going around. Certainly one may blame the alleged offender for the behavior, but also one may blame others in the immediate environment for not preventing the situation from occurring or not taking proper action. And once the blame situation occurs, this also leads to lessening the responsibility of individuals and groups. There's also the cohesive nature and the cohesion of a tight-knit group that would try to handle things internally and to minimize any negative fallout that might harm their reputation or might harm their program or their system. And this seems to have occurred in this case, trying to keep it in-house, trying to keep it from getting out to the public, trying to keep it from affecting the reputation of the university in any particular way. And there's simply denial that this may be occurring, that it's very possible that one individual who observed another individual abusing a child basically denies to themselves that it's happening, or tries to deny, or simply cannot believe that it's happening. Even though they know, they may use all kinds of cognitive or psychological mechanisms to try to minimize that something negative occurred, or they might try to tell themselves a different story to try to minimize the impact, or maybe to think that they misunderstood or saw things wrong, when in the reality they know well, I think, at one level that they did witness what they witnessed, which would be in many of the cases that we've seen abuse. And I'm talking about in general now. What is surprising, of course, and I think what we're going to see is, you're going to see at this university, you're going to see some major groups form, you already have seen, that are going to be antagonistic toward each other and are going to be in major disagreements. You've already seen some groups form that are supporting the head coach who was fired, and others that are opposed to supporting the head coach and believe that the head coach did wrong. Others believe that he is a victim, and I believe that the criminal justice system will make a determination of that. Certainly, I'm not going to speculate one way or the other with the limited information I have, but certainly I can point out, when you have students forming protest groups and destroying property or turning over press vehicles and having law enforcement interactions, we know that this is something that we need to take a closer look at. And basically what I would recommend, what you have here are many features that are characteristic and similar to riots that occur after very tense and highly conflictual sporting events. Kind of the soccer rioting that we may have seen in England. I think we're seeing some of those same dynamics there, and I hope that students and faculty and law enforcement in the community are preparing to, again, minimize any damage that may occur to property, and certainly to people's lives and welfare and health. Also, this is a very sad time for many that are connected to this particular case, even indirectly. For example, a student or faculty member of the university. The university basically has been brought under the microscope, and the reputation is tarnished. And again, I think you're going to see public relations specialists and all that come in there. I have no idea what goes through the heads of public relations people, and I have no desire to. I'm not a public relations person, obviously, but my estimate would be that there's going to be an attempt to damage control, and you're going to see a lot of conflicting narratives, a lot of conflicting stories as they try to repair, as they try to make sense, as they try to do all this at a particular time. In other words, I think you're seeing right now a lot of chaos, disorganization, stress and strain occurring, and they're trying to move back to a balanced state. And you know, the question is, if they move too fast and too far, they're going to go into this rigid thought process that may lead to other problems as well. So we'll have to see what happens. And I'll wrap up simply by saying that I believe we should let the criminal justice system play out their role in this case and see what materializes. And I believe that we should also point out that the victims of child sexual abuse should be supported with all the necessities of mental health care and community support. And I also believe that we should take a closer look at how reporting of child sexual abuse occurs, the mechanisms, the legal aspects, how much people know what to do, when to do it, who to report to. That maybe if the person who allegedly observed the sexual abuse occurring in the shower would have reported it immediately to law enforcement or the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, we might have seen this problem investigated immediately and wrapped up years ago. So we still have a lot of work to go. We've come a long way since we really started child protection work in the 70s and 80s, but we still have a lot more education to do, and we need to dissect this situation, and the public needs to be very aware of everything. I don't care about reputations of universities or people. What I care about is that we understand the mistakes that were made, and we correct these mistakes and errors and implement new procedures that will prevent tragedies like this from happening again. And I thank you. Good day. Good evening.